You're listening to Empress Conversations podcast with your host, Maggie Peary. Conversations with Maggie. Yeah, yeah. Empress. Join us next time on the next episode of Empress Conversations with Maggie. To learn more about guests or for more information on working with Maggie, go to www.empressconversationswithmaggie.com/get-started.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Empress Conversations with Maggie. Today, my lovely guest is Coach Jay, and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's such a delight. Coach Jay, your I should say government name is Janisha. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became an identity coach, and tell us more about your journey and how we got to know you.
Yes. So again, my name is Janisha Bessiake. I am originally from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised, and I relocated to Indianapolis, Indiana about 8 years ago when me and my husband got married. And so we were in a long distance relationship. He was here, I was in Michigan. And so when we got married, I decided to move here. I would say living here in Indiana has been kind of a turning point for me in my journey. And so my own personal journey started with my relationship with Christ, and getting to know God made me realize how much I didn't know myself. And it wasn't until I got married that all of the things that lie beneath the surface started to expose themselves.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how insecure I was. I didn't realize how wounded I was until I got to experience this level of intimacy with another person.
Yes.
And until I started to see the way that I loved, is when those things started to show up. And actually, it was my husband that referred me to a mental health counselor at the time.
Okay.
Because my insecurities and because all of these things started to surface, it was so much that I was projecting onto my husband and having like these unrealistic expectations of what he should give me and who he should be. And it got to the point in our marriage where my husband told me, like, look, I can't heal you and I can't make you feel secure in yourself, right? That's your responsibility. And so from then, at the church that we were going to at the time, there was a spiritual counselor. She was also a mental health counselor that was cohorting groups for the young adults at that time. And so we were able to receive the spiritual guidance and mental health from the partnership that she had with the church that we were going to. And so when I started that journey with her, it gave me all of the answers I didn't even know I needed. It was able to allow me to go deeper into spaces that I've been trying so long to find the answers to. And so it was a combination of my relationship with God, but also mental health counseling that ignited this passion and this burden to help other women navigate through what it is that I started to see the own transformation in my personal journey. And so it was that I feel that began to unlock purpose for me, and begin to unlock what I feel God was really calling me to do. And so that is what caused me to want to help women in this way. And so after I knew that was I guess on the inside of me, I started to do research. I started to pursue what I believe God wanted me to do. And life coaching just happened to be the outlet that I felt was perfect because it was goal oriented It
Mm.
wasn't just people coming to vent and me and to help them come to their own conclusions. It was, no, I'm going to take you on this journey, and this is where we're going, and this is the outcome, and this is what we expect by the time we're done. Of course, based on the work that you put in for your own healing and transformation. But my approach has been very engaging. And it's been more of a ministry than it has been business. And so, yeah, life coaching was just the outlet that I wanted. That just seemed perfect for me. That was a perfect fit. And I help women heal from, specifically from childhood emotional trauma, in order for them to become secure in their identity. And so I use a combination of mental health plus biblical principles in order to accomplish that. And so I use those tools, and I take them through about 7 stages that we go through. And that sometimes can be either one-on-one coaching, which is like a 3-month journey, or I provide group coaching, which is multiple women going on this journey at the same time. So that's more of a community base. Or I'll do workshops to kind of give people a warm up to these concepts and to these tools to kind of get their feet wet before committing to anything. And so that is how a little bit about how I started. And that's what I do.
That is absolutely fantastic, Coach Jay. So let me ask you this. Your title as an identity coach,
Mhm.
how does that work with people as a person grows and they evolve in life? Because you're not necessarily going to be the same person at 30 as you are at 60, and as you progress through life. So
Yeah.
as your identity, as the person grows, how do you work with the person depending upon the stage that you meet them in order to elevate to the next level?
Yes. So we go on 7 stages, and
Hmm.
I think the curriculum or the concepts that we go over, I think can be for anyone at any stage of their life. And
Fantastic.
so I have clients who are um, around like the early young adults where they're literally just now at the point where they're figuring out who they are, right? And then
Absolutely.
you have middle-aged women who is kind of going through a shift or a change. And then I have older women around 50 and 60 who is rediscovering who they are, or they realize like once they're have raised all of their children, I don't even know who I am anymore, right? Or my identity has now been wrapped in wife, or my identity has been wrapped in mother, or in whatever their occupation is. And now that they're not doing those things anymore, they realize, okay, now that these things are gone, my identity went with it, right? And so it's I think the tools that I go over, I think it is applicable for any stage that you're in, any life transition that you're in, and I can kind of go over those the principles, so you can so everyone can get just an understanding of what I mean when I say that. And so the 7 stages that we cover and go through, the first stage is called awareness. And with the awareness stage, we're pretty much going over your thought life. Specifically, what do you think about who you are?
Mm,
Um, what do you think about yourself?
yes.
I find it really surprising at how much we don't really take the time out to ask ourselves these questions, or to invest in the security of self. And so that first stage where I'm really helping you become aware of what do you think of you? What is your thought life? Are you aware of how you think of yourself, whether if it's negative or not? And can you own and take responsibility for whatever those thoughts are.
Mhm.
That's the first stage. The second stage is the heaviest stage that we go through. The second stage is called finding the root. And with finding the root, that is where we go back to where did these narratives, where did these messages of how I think about myself,
Yeah.
where did they first begin? Identity is shaped by how we perceive we were loved, not necessarily how we were loved, but how we perceive we were loved. So based on how you loved me, it gave me a foundation. It gave me a narrative of how important and how valuable I am. And so because of that, we need to go back to your childhood, right? Go back to your upbringing. And in that point, I give foundational roles in what a mother gives and what a father gives to develop a sense of self, to develop confidence, to develop self-worth, value, right? And just the security in who you are. And so going over those foundational roles, we get to pick apart, well, was your father a provider? Well, did your father provide identity? How did your father display love and connection? And what did that communicate to you? What did that communicate to you about you? Right. And so we're able to dig deeper into just the intricate details of what has made you you. And then we also go over what's called mother and father wounds to give language to where am I specifically wounded and how does those wounds show up and what does those wounds communicate to me? What is the message and the narrative that is playing or that is created? And then lastly, we go over fear. So helping you also to become aware of fear's voice and how fear sounds in your head and being able to overcome and combat fear in your life. And so that's why I say it's the heaviest stage because we're pulling up a lot of roots, pulling up a lot of foundational things that we think has made us us, if that makes sense. The third stage is healing. So after we've uprooted all of these things, now let's heal. Let's heal from those wounds. Let's see what does it mean to be healed. So kind of combating the misconceptions of healing, identifying what healing is, and painting a picture practically of what does healing look like day to day. The fourth stage is secured identity. And that's where we kind of redefine what is identity. Now that we've uprooted all of these things that I thought made me and realizing none of those things was actually me, it was just who I was shaped to be. Who are you now? So we're answering that question in this stage. Who are you without fear? Who are you without without wounds? Who are you without?
Coach Jay.
I'm sorry.
No,
what'd you say?
Coach Jay, this is excellent because right before we have to take a quick break here and we'll be right back, but let me just reinforce what I heard. First stage is awareness. Second stage, the root. Third stage, healing. Fourth stage, secured identity. Everyone, if you're listening right now, Coach Jay is giving us the secret sauce to all of this great stuff regarding your identity. We have the expert in identity coaching. If you're struggling with who you are, where you fit in, this is the lady that you need to talk to. So we're going to circle back here, the other remaining three stages that are left in the total of 7. So we'll be right back. This is great info. Thank you so much, Coach Jay.
Stop trying to figure it all out by yourself. Let the professionals of Imprint Creations talk to you about ways your website can generate consistent monthly revenue for you so that you can live the life you love. Simply go to imprintcreations.com/contact. Fill out the form and someone will reach out to you within 24 hours.
Now we can circle back and fit the other three stages that are left. Let's go for it, Coach Jay. The fifth stage is.
Yes, the fifth stage is identity development.
Mm,
So now that we know who we are, how do we begin to actually believe it? How do
mm,
we begin to believe it? And how do we begin to live out who we say we are? How do
mm,
we begin to show up as who we say we are?
mm.
I think it's one thing to know it, it's another thing to be
Yes.
it. And so, kind of making that transition of I know who I am, I believe who I am, and I'm showing up as who I am. No
Yes.
matter the space I'm in, no matter who's around, right? My identity and who I am isn't wavering, changing based on things and people and opinions and spaces. I am who I am at all times, right? Being able to stand in that. The the sixth stage is spiritual development,
Mm,
and with spiritual development, we're really just going over the basics and the foundation of biblical principles, which is prayer, which is worship, and the Word of God.
yes.
It's really just going over the basics of what is prayer, what is worship, who is God.
Yes.
Kind of having the conversation with the person of what is your spiritual journey? Are you on one? Are you not? Do you believe? Do you not? Right? Giving people that space to have a conversation. I don't force my beliefs onto people when it comes to especially the spirituality piece. If they're open to have that conversation, I definitely have the conversation. If they're not open to it, then we don't go over it. But I know that if you've come, you know that you're going to get God, whether if God's name is mentioned or not, right? And so we just kind of go over what is this, how do you do it, how do you apply it to your life? Um, and then the last stage, the seventh stage, is pursuing purpose and repurposing pain. Pursuing purpose and repurposing pain. And so, how can I begin to take what was done to me or take the most painful moments in my life and turn it into something beautiful? I always try to remind people that you didn't experience and go through what you went through for the sake of just going through it.
That's right.
You wasn't meant to only just be a victim of what you experienced. That experience needs to be a launching pad into what it is that you were created and called to do,
That's right.
right? If if everything works out for the good, then how can we turn this into something good? And so help that person pick a piece. How can I make this beautiful?
Absolutely. I love that so much, Coach Jay, because, and shout out to Dr. Worsley, Dr. Pamela Worsley, because she has a saying that goes, your misery is your ministry. So whatever has caused you that pain,
Mm,
be it divorce, be it loss, be it grief, whatever it is,
I love
that
that.
is your opportunity once you've done your healing and you're in a place where you're healthy to talk about it with other people, but also encourage others from your experience to say, look, I've been through this. You can do it too. And this is how I got through it. But there's always something that God never uses an opportunity, no matter how good, bad, or ugly it is, it can always be used for somebody's purpose. So that's the blessing in that. I'm a God woman and you are too. So, hey, I don't have a problem talking about God anywhere, anytime, anywhere. So these
Yes.
seven beautiful diamonds that you've just given us, these seven steps, this secret sauce in finding your identity, mind blown. I was just giving a gesture there. That's so powerful because I imagine either, like I said, somebody who's gone through divorce or whatever you're dealing with, but the fact that you couple this with mental health counseling as well, that is so powerful.
Yeah.
How, there are a couple of questions. So let's start from the beginning. From the business side of it, how do you scale on a program such as this? Or how have you scaled?
Yes, I think the groups are really amazing, um, because usually when someone has went through it and they start to see their own transformation, they are encouraged and they want to refer other people. Most clients have referred family, um,
Mm,
which I didn't expect. So I've literally have coached an entire family. Um, the cousin, the grandmother, the father, the sister, the brother. And that was just an amazing experience. And I feel like that helped me make my mission more clear,
mm,
and vision more clear, because I realized it's not just one person that is going through this transformation. It's a world. It's
yes.
not just one person, it's one world, it's one bloodline, it's one generation.
Yeah.
And so when that person goes through the experience, they're seeing their families, their friends, they're seeing the transformation, they're seeing what's taking place, and they're like, what are you doing? Right. And so they it's been really referral based. The groups have been way more referral based also than the one-on-one. So that's why I mentioned the groups. Um, but also creating community around every woman who have went through the journey. And so building community based on those women, that has been another thing that has been fruitful, because now that they have went through the journey, they say, okay, I am healing, I know who I am, I want to now be around other women, other people, like-minded people who are going on this journey. I want to build sisterhood. Let's go out and have fun, let's live this thing out. But I want to be around like-minded people, right? And so with that community base, you get to create the next thing or the next level or the next retreat, and kind of building that. That's been another thing. And I think the last thing,
Stop trying to figure it all out by yourself. Let the professionals of Imprint Creations talk to you about ways your website can generate consistent monthly revenue for you so that you can live the life you love. Simply go to mprintcreations.com/contact. Fill out the form and someone will reach out to you within 24 hours.
So we were picking up where you left off, and you were sharing with us how powerful it is for families to continue to get these programs for healing.
yes. And I think the last way I've been able to scale is right now I'm in the middle of training interns
Mm,
who would also like to do this work. Um, and so they have, based on how I train them, they have to go through the actual 7 journey stage themselves first and go on their own journey. They also have to receive mental health counseling for a year, um, and begin to train them on how to coach effectively. And so I'm really excited because I am almost at the end of one of my interns, and she'll be joining me. So it just won't be me anymore, um, and helping her to start her process and building her clientele and things like that. And so that's also been one of the ways that I've been scaling as well.
that's fantastic. One thing I wanted to ask you, did you find that, of course, when we had COVID in 2020, did you find that that was another reason that propelled your business to be so successful? Because at that point, there was so much going on, especially afterwards when people realized the implications of being isolated and what people were struggling with. Is that when your business launched and you decided this is an area that I really need to focus in, that God was calling you towards?
Yes, I it's funny because before that passion ignited, I was a massage therapist for 8 years. Um
Mm.
before I turned to the coaching full time. And it was literally like he just snatched the desire to want to do it anymore. It was a very supernatural experience. Um, and in prayer, God told me, I want you to begin to start pursuing purpose. At
Mm.
that time, I was already getting the mental health counseling and I was starting to see the transformation. And so I was already having the thoughts and saying to myself, I don't want women to suffer internally for so long the way that I did,
Mm.
because it was so much I didn't know. It was so much that I was trying to figure out. And I didn't want her to experience that pain. And so once I started to see my own transformation, I was saying it to myself. It wasn't necessarily a prayer or something that I was asking God. It was just thoughts that would come as I was going through the process. And one day when I was in prayer, God told me, I want you to start pursuing purpose. And he was saying, what you're doing now isn't it. And um it seems like ever since ever um after he said that, it was like my world started to shift and change. Um, and I started to pursue it because I already knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to take her through that process in that journey. It just happened to be during 2020. I didn't expect it. Like I didn't think, oh, this is 2020, so much is going on. Let me do it now. It wasn't necessarily that. It just happened that I was on that journey at that time and I was living in obedience when God said go.
And you went and haven't looked back since. How amazing has that been? Coach Jay, please tell our listening audience where they can find you and how people can stay connected to you.
Yes. My website, JanishaBessiake.com. Um, Janisha Bessiake on Facebook and Instagram.
Excellent, excellent. Definitely people will stay in touch with you. And you have another coaching group program that's coming up. Tell us a little bit more about that before we conclude our time together.
Yes, so I do group coaching, and usually the group coaching they're reoccurring. And so once one of the groups stop, another one starts. And so I'll be wrapping up one of our groups in the middle of this month.
Hmm.
Our next upcoming group will be starting June. One second. We'll be starting June 10th. Um,
Okay.
and so usually I have informationals, and the informationals is for people who would love to know more information. If you would like to, if you are interested and would like to join the informationals, I usually do two informationals. You don't have to attend both. It's just for people to have an option to attend either or. But the informationals will share you more about me and what I do and how the 10-week program works, because it is for 10 weeks. And then the informationals, one of the informationals is May 31st. And then the other informational is June 7th at 6:30 p.m. And so if you go on my website on the group coaching page, you have all that information. It'll give you, direct you to what you need to do to sign up for that informational in case you're interested.
And do tell us that because you're in Indiana, I'm in Atlanta, this is a virtual session that you'll be having, correct?
Yes, I have different people in different states join. Sometimes I have people that's all Indiana residents, and sometimes I don't. And so it does not matter um, where you are, depending on the time zones, can be a little challenging. But for the most part, yeah, it is virtual. And we also celebrate at the end of the 10 weeks. We usually have a retreat to just celebrate the woman that you are and the woman you fought for. and to continue building that community so that you can stay connected and continue to grow even after.
Coach Jay, one of the things that I just for clarity's sake here is
Mhm.
because we have more than just women listening. So if a young man is interested, do you coach men as well, or is it
I,
specifically women?
yes, I do coach men as well. I do coach men. Women have been the um, women have has been the more dominant audience, I would say. But I do coach men as well. Yes, ma'am.
That is excellent. And because, we're so blessed, we both look 21, there is a wealth of experience here. It's not just because, we look like we're fresh out of high school. No, 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 no. So
Yes.
we're able to cater to all groups, seniors, if you're straight out of high school,
Yes.
which is also a really good time because that transition stage into young adult and figuring out this adulthood thing and how it works. It's overwhelming once you leave your parents' house and trying to figure out
Yes.
this world in which now you have to find your own place where you fit in and what you're going to do with your life. So it would be a great time to get with Coach Jay. And also, if you're on the other end, perhaps retiring or in a place of thinking, what's my next adventure in life?
Yes.
I would definitely encourage you to reach out to Coach Jay and see how our identity coach here can help you figure out the next way forward. Coach Jay, any last parting words before we leave our audience for today?
Yes. I just want to speak to the person who's listening to this and who's in that place where you
Hmm.
don't know who you are or you want to be confident in who you are. Um, sometimes we can sometimes we can be afraid of not wanting to start the process
Mm.
because of shame or because we've been overly critical of ourselves or simply because we are afraid. And I just want to speak to your heart and speak to your journey that if I can do it, if all of these women, powerful women, can go through that process and go through that journey too, so can you.
Yes.
No one is better than the other. We just shine and we shine differently. And we have our own individual light. And you deserve to see yours. You deserve to um, see who you were created to be right here, right now on this side of earth. You deserve to heal. You deserve to become confident. You deserve to stand in all that you are authentically. And so I want to just reassure you and encourage you to start your journey, start your process.
Very well said, Coach Jay. That was really encouraging and empowering. If you know of anyone who would be a great guest for this episode, please go to my website, Empress Conversations with Maggie /get started or contact and fill out the form. It's as simple as that. We could have you, if you are a woman in business, get in touch and we will definitely respond back to you. Coach Jay, 10 out of 10. Looking forward to hearing more from you and to hearing what other exciting adventures you're into. We'll be circling back. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're so
Just
welcome.
with Maggie. Yeah, yeah. Join us next time on the next episode of Empress Conversations with Maggie. To learn more about guests or for more information on working with Maggie, go to www.empressconversationswithmaggie.get-started.